President Incheon has arrived at the NATO summit in Turkey, kicking off a series of high-level meetings aimed at expanding South Korea's defense and strategic partnerships. Samsung Electronics has rewritten its record books once again, posting historic second quarter earnings that exceeded its entire profit from last year in just 3 months. Despite posting a record-breaking quarterly operating profit, Samsung Electronics plunged nearly 7% on heavy foreign selling, dragging the KOSPI sharply lower in a broad market sell-off. President Incheon has arrived in Turkey for his first NATO summit, where South Korea is seeking to deepen defense cooperation with the alliance. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yujin has our top story tonight.
Less than a month after attending the G7 summit, President Lee Jae-myung is heading to another major diplomatic stage, the NATO summit in Turkey. Korea, participating as an invited partner, is eyeing to deepen defense cooperation with the alliance. Together, NATO's 32 members account for more than half of global defense spending, making it the world's largest defense market.
As geopolitical uncertainty continues to grow, NATO allies are increasing defense spending and expanding their own defense production capabilities. As a NATO partner, Korea also needs to strengthen interoperability in line with NATO standards, so our defense products can be more readily supplied to allied countries.
A key highlight of Lee's visit will be the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum on Tuesday. The event will bring together senior NATO officials, government representatives, and defense industry leaders. There, President Lee will deliver a keynote address and join a panel discussion.
Through the forum, we will directly showcase the strengths of our defense industry and its rapid production capabilities to NATO allies and partner countries, while securing concrete avenues of cooperation as we work toward becoming one of the world's top 4 defense exporters.
Beyond defense, Seoul hopes to broaden cooperation with NATO in areas ranging from security to the economy. As part of that effort, President Lee will hold talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Tuesday. He will then join a meeting between NATO and its 4 Indo-Pacific partners, Korea, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. Several bilateral meetings with fellow world leaders are also being arranged. After 2 days in Turkey, President Lee will travel to Mongolia for a 3-day state visit. He is scheduled to hold a summit with Mongolian President Ufnagin Huresu on Thursday. The trip will conclude with Lee attending the opening ceremony of Mongolia's historic Naram Festival as a guest of honor, becoming the first Korean president to do so. Song Yujin, Arirang News.
And President Lee's participation in the NATO summit comes as South Korea seeks to expand defense cooperation and also position itself as a trusted partner in the global defense sector. Our Cho Young-eun explains.
South Korea's attendance at the NATO summit comes as Europe undergoes one of its biggest defense buildups in decades. With NATO members increasing military spending and working to strengthen their defense industries, Korea sees the summit as a key opportunity to deepen security cooperation and promotes its defense exports.
By engaging directly with these countries, we expect to reinforce Korea's standing as a responsible global partner while identifying areas of practical cooperation that benefit all sides.
Korea has emerged as one of the world's leading arms exporters, ranking 4th globally with roughly 6% of the international arms export market, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. Defense exports have become one of the country's fastest-growing industries since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with billion-dollar deals ranging from missile systems to naval vessels.
In this new era of geopolitical rivalry, Korea has established itself as one of the few defense exporters capable of providing cost competitiveness, rapid delivery, localization, and broader industrial cooperation. As security concerns grow in regions such as Eastern Europe and the Middle East, demand for Korean defense products continues to increase.
Experts say as Korea has become an increasingly attractive defense partner, future cooperation is expected to focus on joint development, maintenance, repair and overhaul, and supply chain partnerships.
The next step for Korea's defense industry is to move beyond simply exporting finished products. It should expand into joint development, local production, MRO, and supply chain partnerships with NATO members and partner countries. High-level dialogue between leaders and eventually formal agreements will be essential to making that happen.
Another expert says Korea must also adapt to Europe's changing defense strategy, adding that success in the industry ultimately depends on trust built through practical cooperation.
Defense exports are fundamentally built on trust between governments. They are not simply about selling better or cheaper weapons. Without mutual confidence and a clear understanding of each country's security needs and areas for cooperation, it is difficult to succeed in this market.
As security cooperation between Korea and NATO continues to expand, experts say this summit could become a turning point for Korea, expanding its long-term strategic partnership in Europe's evolving defense landscape. 조영은, Arirang News.
Ongoing around Hawaii is the world's largest international maritime exercise, RIMPAC. There, the U.S. gave a tour around its naval assets that are usually not easy to get a glimpse at. Our Kim Bo-kyung follows this report from Honolulu.
Dominating the waterfront at Hawaii's Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam is the USS Theodore Roosevelt, the U.S. Navy's fourth Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. I'm aboard the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt. Its massive flight deck is nearly the size of 3 soccer fields. The carrier, which made a port call in Busan in June 2024, is capable of operating nearly 70 aircraft from its flight deck and hangar bay. Reporters were able to see aircraft, including the EA-18G Growler, mainly used for electronic warfare attack mission, and F-18 Hornets. When asked about China's recent test launch of a long-range ballistic missile into the Pacific Ocean from a nuclear-powered submarine during RIMPAC, the commander said he is aware.
We are aware of the missile tests conducted. We're constantly monitoring events throughout the world and making sure that we have awareness of what's going on around the world. There's been no specific changes to address that, but we are aware of that.
Aside from the aircraft carrier, the U.S. Navy also had its amphibious assault ship, the USS Essex. Housing what is similar to a community hospital, it has 4 operating rooms, intensive care facilities that can treat up to 15 surgical patients, and a dental clinic. The MV-22 Osprey tilt-rotor military aircraft was also on the flight deck.
With the Osprey, we can go over 1,000 miles from the site of a disaster from this ship and deliver aid, or we can go from the disaster to the ship where there's actually a hospital about 1 deck below us. And so if anybody needed help or evacuation, we would bring them using the Osprey to the ship, we would treat them, and they would get them where they needed to go.
With some of the U.S. Navy's most advanced assets on display, RIMPAC highlights the scale of American naval power and, more importantly, the significance of cooperation among maritime partners. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Honolulu.
As North Korea continues to expand its nuclear program, there's a growing debate over what future diplomacy with Pyongyang can realistically achieve, especially as concerns continue to grow over military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. To delve deeper into the issue, we have our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young joining us in the studio. Welcome back, Soo-young.
Good evening, Kami.
So, Soo-young, let's start with North Korea's nuclear program. Just how much has the threat evolved?
Well, the latest independent estimate from Stockholm International Peace Research Institute puts North Korea's arsenal at around 60 assembled nuclear warheads. That's up from about 50 a year ago, with enough fissile material for at least another 30. Analysts also believe that Pyongyang continues producing weapons-grade material at multiple sites, but it's not just expanding its stockpile. This year alone, North Korea has continued testing upgraded KN-23 ballistic missiles, 600mm super large multiple rocket rocket launchers designed for tactical nuclear missions. And it's also commissioned its first 5,000-ton Cheon-class destroyer that's capable of launching strategic cruise missiles. So taken together, many analysts say that North Korea is now building a more diverse and operational nuclear force.
North Korea is an established nuclear power. It has some 60 or more nuclear warheads. It's got the capacity to construct more. It can put them onto missiles of varying ranges, and it's not out of the question that it develops intercontinental ballistic missile capability as well. So the opportunity of 25 years ago has gone, and we have to figure out how to handle the new and more dangerous world that has been created as a result.
You know, if that's today's reality, what does that mean for North Korea-U.S. negotiations, especially if U.S. President Donald Trump pursues, another summit with Kim Jong-un?
Well, it seems to me, Tammy, that expectations might have to become slightly more modest. The last North Korea-US summit was held in Hanoi in 2019, and negotiations have remained stalled ever since. During that time, North Korea has dramatically expanded both its nuclear arsenal and delivery systems while declaring itself an irreversible nuclear weapon state. Against that backdrop, analysts increasingly believe that future diplomacy may focus first on freezing further production, limiting capabilities, and reducing military risks before pursuing broader goals. So that kind of aligns really with the Lee Jae-myung administration's phased so-called END initiative, which emphasizes gradual progress through engagement before longer-term denuclearization.
You have to start from the point of view that North Korea owns nuclear weapons. That's the reality. How do we manage that situation? How can we keep their nuclear weapons as at lower level as possible? And at the moment, North Korea shows no great urgency to rejoin negotiations on the question.
I see. Well, another area drawing increasing attention is North Korea's attempt to strengthen its sea-based nuclear capabilities. So, how significant is that development?
I mean, I'd say it's potentially one of the most significant changes we've seen to North Korea's deterrent in recent months. Last week, Kim Jong-un supervised weapon tests aboard the new 5,000-ton destroyer Kanggon, including what North Korea has described as strategic cruise missiles, anti-air weapons, and electronic warfare systems. He ordered the vessel to enter service within 2 months. Now, that raises the possibility that it could be commissioned around the North's September 9th founding anniversary. At the same time, Pyongyang continues to pursue submarine-launched nuclear capabilities. While experts say that North Korea still faces significant technical and operational hurdles before fielding a credible sea-based nuclear deterrent, our expert, Dan Smith, he cautions against dismissing the program completely, especially as military technology transfers from Russia are already taking place.
Well, I think technological transfers are happening and at pace. For the Russia-North Korea relationship, Russia helping North Korea with technologies is, in a sense, payment in kind for North Korea helping Russia by sending troops, by sending forces. I would at the moment see it as being a little bit more about the cosmetics than the reality. So I think one shouldn't underestimate the degree to which North Korea might go in that direction with submarine-launched nuclear weapon capability as well.
Now, Smith warns that this shifting balance could make North Korea harder to pressure as Pyongyang gains more diplomatic and military options between Moscow and Beijing.
Indeed, that complicates the picture for potential negotiations, but hopes do continue for the restoration of dialogue. Soo-young, thanks for the wrap-up.
Thanks for inviting me.
Samsung Electronics has posted record-breaking preliminary second quarter earnings, fueled by soaring demand for AI memory chips. Park Junan has the details.
Samsung Electronics has announced a record second quarter operating profit that goes beyond market expectations. According to a preliminary earnings report on Tuesday, the tech giant posted an operating profit of 89.4 trillion Korean won, or approximately $58.5 billion. To put this into perspective, the operating profit jumped an astonishing 1,810% from the same period last year. Revenue surged 129.3% year-over-year to reach 171 trillion won, or roughly $111.9 billion. In just that quarter, Samsung earned more than its combined operating profit for the 3 years spanning 2023 to 2025. No other global tech giant has ever reached this milestone in a single quarter, and the company's actual performance could have been even higher. The reported profit doesn't include around 17 trillion won, or approximately $11.1 billion allocated for employee performance bonuses. Without this provision, the second quarter operating profit would have surpassed the 100 trillion won mark. Samsung's massive earnings are being driven by an AI memory supercycle due to increased investment in AI infrastructure. The demand for advanced memory chips is heavily outstripping supply. As the company with the world's largest memory production capacity, Samsung is reaping the maximum benefits of this AI bottleneck. The firm's success is further solidified by its recent milestone of becoming the world's first to mass-produce and ship the 6th-generation HBM4 chips. Samsung said it plans to reinvest earnings into expanding its production bases in Korea. Industry watchers are taking a closer look at how the company's investments will translate into future profits and whether strong demand and pricing power for memory chips can be sustained. Park Junan, Arirang News.
But Samsung Electronics' record earnings failed to spark a market rally, as investors instead rushed to lock in gains, sending the KOSPI sharply lower. Kim Do-young covers Tuesday's trade.
The benchmark KOSPI on Tuesday closed down 4.91% at 7,656.31 points. The massive drop triggered an intraday circuit breaker, halting trading on the main bourse for 20 minutes in the afternoon. This followed a sidecar activation earlier in the morning. The collapse was driven by a sharp plunge in major semiconductor stocks. Samsung Electronics posted an earnings surprise early in the day with tentative revenue of 89.4 trillion won, or $58.5 billion. However, the record figure sparked aggressive profit-taking, sending its shares down roughly 6.9% to close at 296,000 won. Rival SK Hynix also tumbled, closing down 6% at 2,201,000 won. Foreign investors drove the broader market rout, dumping a net 2.9 trillion won on Tuesday alone and extending their selling streak to 13 consecutive days. Over the past month, foreign investors have offloaded more than 42.3 trillion won from the KOSPI, or around $27.7 billion. Retail investors try to absorb the shock with a net purchase of 3.1 trillion won on the day, bringing their one-month total to more than 37.9 trillion won. Institutional investors also recorded a net sell-off of 309.7 billion won. With foreign investors continuing to sell off Korean shares and global chip makers also seeing stock declines, analysts say skepticism over the semiconductor sector is growing.
There are doubts about whether the strong earnings of semiconductor companies are sustainable. Furthermore, following the recent rapid rally, much of these expectations were already priced into the market.
At the same time, retail investors' ability to defend the index is showing signs of exhaustion. Korea Financial Investment Association data shows investor deposits have fallen sharply from roughly 137 trillion won in late June to 118 trillion won by July 3rd. Though local markets panicked, securities firms say it is too early to declare the end of the AI cycle. They point to upcoming U.S. big tech earnings at the end of July as the next critical variable. Meanwhile, the tech-heavy KOSDAQ hit its lowest level of the year on Tuesday, closing at 831.23. Kim Do-young, Arirang News.
A revision to Korea's Information and Communications Network Act, which tightens penalties for spreading false or manipulated information online, took effect on Tuesday, drawing opposing reactions from the ruling Democratic Party and the main opposition People Power Party. PPP floor leader Chung Jong-sik called the law unconstitutional, labeling it as a gag law, and said his party would file a constitutional petition while pushing its own bill to strip out the disputed provisions. Now, DP floor leader Han Byung-do defended the revision as a minimum safeguard against disinformation and pledged full government support for its implementation. Incheon International Airport has reached a major milestone, surpassing 1 billion cumulative passengers just 25 years after opening. Our Baek Joo-hee has more.
On Tuesday, Korea's main gateway reached a historic milestone, welcoming its 1 billionth cumulative passengers since opening in 2001. It took the airport exactly 25 years and 3 months to reach the mark. On average, 108,000 passengers use the airport daily, which translates to 4,513 people per hour, or 75 travelers every single minute. The airport reached 100 million passengers in 2005 and 500 million in 2016, before doubling the figure within a decade to hit 1 billion in 2026. According to the Incheon International Airport Corporation, this is the fastest growth rate among major global hub airports. While Incheon achieved this in 25 years, Germany's Munich Airport took around 34 years, Singapore's Changi Airport 35 years, Japan's Narita Airport 39 years, and Dubai International Airport over 58 years. The 1 billionth passenger was Ayaka Hara, a Japanese national boarding a Korean air flight to Tokyo. Incheon International Airport Corporation held a grand ceremony to mark the milestone, presenting her with a commemorative plaque and a free airline ticket.
The facilities are very clean and well equipped. Plus, the staff always comes over to help right away if I look lost, and they're so polite.
By destination, routes to and from Japan recorded the highest volume with more than 204 million passengers, followed by China, the United States, and Vietnam. Incheon's rapid growth is backed by consistent government support and infrastructure expansion. Following the completion of its Phase 4 construction project in 2024, the airport expanded its annual capacity to 106 million passengers, making it the world's third largest airport in terms of international passenger infrastructure.
Foreign passengers made up 45% of our traffic in the first half of this year and will likely exceed 50% soon. We are expanding immigration staff to slash wait times, improving terminal facilities, and enhancing foreign language signage.
Everything was great. The check-in was very smooth. Everyone was very helpful. I can say that the Seoul airport really is up to the standard.
As Incheon International Airport celebrates its historic milestone, the Airport Corporation will now focus on investing more on facilities and innovate services. Baek Joo-hee, Arirang News.
A Korean Earth observation satellite dedicated to agriculture and forestry was successfully launched on Tuesday. The next generation satellite lifted off aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from California shortly after midnight Tuesday local time. It successfully separated from the launch vehicle about 2.5 hours after liftoff and was inserted into its target orbit. The satellite later established its first communication with the ground station in Norway. Now, built by Korea Aerospace Industries, it's equipped with a domestically developed camera capable of imaging the entire Korean peninsula every 3 days.
On days like these, it's important to stay hydrated and take precautions against heat-related illnesses. Today marked Choseol, one of Korea's seasonal divisions that signals the start of the hottest part of summer. Currently, heat advisories have been expanded to many areas, and with humidity climbing, muggy conditions will continue. Starting tomorrow, the seasonal rain front will become active again and spread rain across the country. Between tomorrow and Thursday, Chungcheongnam-do and Jeollabuk-do provinces could see more than 200 millimeters of rain. Elsewhere across the central region, some places could pick up over 150 millimeters. Tomorrow, Seoul will start the day at 25 degrees Celsius, raising the chance of the city's first tropical night of the summer. Chuncheon will be at 23 degrees, Gwangju at 24 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 27 degrees, while Daegu, Gyeongju, and Jeju will all top out at 32 degrees. As the rain tapers off, hot and humid weather will return later this week. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.